right, let's talk about willpower. So one of the definitions of willpower is the strength of your will to carry out your decisions or your wishes or your plans. Now, as a leader, sometimes those plans get waylaid. The environment changes, something unexpected happens, and you need to make a quick decision about what it is that you need to do. You get to decide what is the professional and moral decision given what is. And at West Point, as cadets, they would ask us to take that one step further and actually reach for what is called the harder right. And what they do is they ask cadets to choose the harder right over the easier wrong. And that's part of our leadership training. And applying that in a professional setting is extremely important, because the idea is that you choose the right decision that will have the widest positive impact on your circle of influence. And if you want to read more about that and how to do that professionally, I highly recommend this book by Larry Donnithorne, Colonel Larry Donnithorne. It's called The West Point Way of Leadership. It's a fantastic book. And he talks about the harder right over the easier wrong. So what does this have to do with willpower? What does it have to do with leadership? Well, leadership for communities and teams and armies begins with self-leadership. And a huge part of self-leadership is self-care. And one of the things that gets in the way of many of us taking care of ourselves is the idea that we don't have enough willpower. We believe, and there is a lot of studies actually to back this up, that willpower is limited, right? So it must be. And this is supported all the way back from Freud all the way to today. And there's something called the Ego Depletion Theory. And it basically states that you have limited willpower. And here's the deal. It's backed by some studies. And we've all experienced this phenomena, right? We know that it's easier to work out or go running in the morning and get it over with than in the evening after a long day when we really don't feel like it and our willpower is limited. It's easier to be patient with the first person who walks in our office and interrupts us, and maybe not so easy with the fourth or the fifth person, right? We feel like our willpower, our patience, our ability to control our will is limited. But here's the thing. We've been thinking about willpower the wrong way. Willpower is not some mystical thing that gets depleted as your day goes on without your control. Willpower is actually an emotion. It's an emotion. And you don't run out of emotions. You don't run out of joy or anger or love. Now, sometimes you feel those emotions more than others. They ebb and flow depending on what's going on, depending on what you're thinking, and they ebb and flow just like willpower. And if we know that willpower is really an emotion and not some nebulous thing, and we know that our emotions are created by our own thoughts, then for sure, willpower is not a limited resource, because our thoughts are not limited and our emotions are not limited. So what does that mean? It means that you can no longer say that you don't have enough willpower, or that you don't have enough self-control, or that you've never had enough self-control when it comes to Bavarian chocolate or this particular type of red wine, or when this particular person asks you to do something, right? It also means that you can say that you are in charge of your willpower and not the other way around. And so this is both good news and then maybe bad news for some people. And it's only bad news in that you cannot use any more lack of willpower or self-control as an excuse. The good news is that this means that you get to practice managing your willpower, managing your mind and the emotion of willpower and the thoughts that you have when it comes time for you to power through. And then the great news is that as you practice managing your mind and strengthening that resiliency muscle, when it comes to taking your next right personal action, then that means you are also strengthening the muscle that will help you to choose the harder right over the easier wrong in professional settings. That when you practice your self-care and your self-leadership, that it has an impact on the people that you lead. And that is pretty phenomenal news. So I would love to hear what harder right you are choosing for yourself and for those you lead. So go forth and create an amazing and powerful day full of will.